Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to journey through the very heart of the Psalms, and we'll be exploring 5 incredibly powerful chapters. These Psalms really map out the entire spiritual experience. They take us from the absolute heights of communal joy all the way down into the deepest valleys of personal grief, and then bring us right back to a place of real, confident hope in God.
So here's our roadmap. We're going to start with Psalm 136, which is this amazing chorus of praise. Then we'll dive right into the deep end with a sorrowful lament in Psalm 137. After that, we'll shift gears to hear a really personal story of thanksgiving. Then we'll pause and meditate on what it means to be completely known by God, and we'll finish up with a raw, honest plea for protection. Let's get into it. All right, first up, Psalm 136. Now, this isn't just a poem you read quietly to yourself. You have to imagine it as this massive, responsive chant. Picture a worship leader calling out one of God's incredible acts, and then the entire community, everyone, shouting back with one single, powerful truth. It's truly a grand symphony of thanksgiving.
What's so cool about this psalm is that its worship is grounded in actual historical moments. It talks about God's work in creation, sure, but it really comes alive when it points to things like this, the parting of the Red Sea. For Israel, this was the moment of deliverance, the event that defined their rescue from slavery in Egypt. And here it is. This is the powerful response. This is the very heartbeat of the entire psalm. After every single declaration of what God has done, the people would chant this refrain. It actually shows up 26 times. It's designed to drill home the central theme. Everything God does flows from his constant, unending, totally faithful mercy. You can almost see the argument being built, piece by piece. It starts big, with God as the universal creator of everything. Then it zooms in on his specific role as Israel's deliverer. And finally, it shows him as their day-to-day sustainer out in the wilderness. It's a progression that leads to one unshakable conclusion. His mercy is forever.
So, what's the takeaway for us? Well, it shows us exactly why remembering is so important. By looking back and recounting what God has done, the community builds its trust for the future. It teaches us that our gratitude, especially when we share it together, is built on this rock-solid foundation of a mercy that, just doesn't quit.
Okay, take a deep breath because from that peak of joyful worship, the mood is about to shift dramatically. We are now entering a valley of profound sorrow with Psalm 137. And honestly, this is one of the most heart-wrenching laments in the entire Bible. This one line just paints such a vivid, tragic picture. The Israelites are no longer home. They're captives in a foreign land. That joyous praise we just heard in Psalm 136 feels like a million miles away. Now, when they remember their home, Zion, their sacred city, the very center of their worship, all they can do is weep. This is the raw, agonizing core of the psalm. Their captors are literally mocking them, asking them to sing one of their famous worship songs. But for the exiles, it feels totally impossible. How can you sing songs of joy when your heart is shattered? How do you worship when you are so far from home? And it feels like everything is lost.
You know what's so powerful about this psalm? It gives us permission to be brutally honest with God about our pain. It shows that real faith isn't about slapping on a happy face and pretending everything's fine. It validates the full spectrum of human emotion, teaching us that faith is big enough to hold even our deepest sorrows and longings.
After wading through that deep sorrow, Psalm 138 shifts our focus again, moving from the collective grief of a whole nation to the confident thanksgiving of one person. This is a personal psalm from David, and it reads just like a powerful, heartfelt testimony. David really boils his experience down to this simple, profound process. It's a direct cause and effect. Step 1, I was in trouble and I cried out. Step 2, you heard me and answered. And step 3, and this is so key, God didn't just fix the external problem. He responded by giving David inner strength in his very soul. This just goes to show that our personal stories really matter. Taking the time to recognize and thank God for the specific ways he's shown up in our lives, that's a powerful act of worship. And just like it was for David, looking back at that help is what builds our confidence to face whatever is coming next. All right, now prepare yourself for a dose of pure awe. Psalm 139 takes us from a personal testimony to this profound meditation on one of the most mind-bending concepts you can imagine. God's complete, total, and intimate knowledge of every single one of us. The scope of this knowledge is just staggering. It's not just about what we do, it's about who we fundamentally are. God knows our thoughts before we even finish forming them. He saw us from our very first moments in the womb. And this isn't presented as some kind of terrifying surveillance. It's framed as a source of deep, profound comfort. This really gets to the heart of why being so completely known is such a good thing. It means we are never, ever truly alone. It confirms that we were created with intention, that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And because God already knows everything, we can be completely vulnerable and ask Him to search our hearts and lead us in the right way. For our final psalm, number 140, we come crashing right back down to earth. After soaking in the sublime truths of being known by God, we're confronted with the harsh reality of living in a broken world. This is a raw, urgent cry for protection from the real and present danger of evil people. The conflict couldn't be clearer. It's laid out right here. On one side, you have the evil man, who's defined by violence and deceitful words. And on the other side, you have the Lord, described as salvation, strength, and the defender of the weak. The psalmist is stuck right in the middle of this threat and God's promise of protection. The lesson here is pretty straightforward. Faith doesn't ask us to ignore evil or pretend it doesn't exist. Not at all. Instead, it invites us to bring our very real fears to God, trusting that He is our defender and the ultimate righteous judge who will one day make all things right. So let's step back and bring this all together. From communal praise to private grief, from personal thanksgiving to cosmic awe, and then to desperate cries for help, these 5 psalms cover an incredible range. They paint a really complete and, I think, an honest picture of what a life of faith actually looks and feels like.
Through all those emotional highs and lows, these enduring truths just keep shining through. We see that God's mercy is the bedrock, that honest remembrance of both the good times and the bad is absolutely key, that thanksgiving is so vital, that there's deep comfort to be found in God's all-knowing presence, and finally, that we can have real confidence in His protection.
You know, in the end, these psalms are so much more than just ancient literature. They're like a mirror held up to our own souls. And so the question they kind of leave us with is this. As we navigate our own journeys, where do we find these same patterns playing out? Where do we hear our own songs of mercy, feel our own moments of sorrow, and discover our own anchors of hope?